Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of Movie Dudes. I'm Alec.
And I'm Phil.
And today we are going to be talking about the 2014 film Ex Machina, directed by, I think it's Alex Garland? Yes.
Hell
I have it on DVD right here, as the viewers of the video podcast can see. Over on my shelf, or not on my shelf, my windowsill.
And I personally do not own it because I had not seen the film until like 2 days ago.
Yeah, I watched it again last night, and that was my first time watching it since like 2015, probably. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
People may also notice that I'm finally in a new backdrop. I finally moved apartments. And now we have a nice window with some trees and leaves behind me.
Ooh. Some
actual wildlife. So yeah, it's a little empty right now because there's no posters or anything like that. But this is it. This is probably going to be the space for the next couple of years. But yeah, can't really think of anything else new to add before we get into the movie itself. Can you?
Yeah. No, I don't really have anything. So I guess we can just jump into it.
Yeah, I guess so. Alright, so Ex Machina was a little factoid I like about it is that it was one of the first it was one of the first A24 produced movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was I think maybe the first six.
You know what?
The first six.
Now that you say it, it kind of feels like an A24 movie.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me look this up because I'm curious as to which one it was, because I know A24 had films like The Bling Ring before this one came out, but let's see, A24 list. Okay, yeah, it was the. Oh, I was completely wrong on saying it was one of the first six. It looks like it was the, I think the 14th, but it was within the first couple of years of A24 being a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, it stars Domhnall Gleeson, Alicia Vikander, and Oscar Isaac. And I guess another thing to mention is the director also, he wrote the screenplay. He wrote I thought this was also worth mentioning. He wrote movies like 28 Days Later, and
yeah.
I believe there's another one that he wrote that's pretty notable. Hold on, Dread. He wrote Dread.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So yeah, I guess really the first thing to do would be to get into the plot. I should also mention, unlike House, I don't really have a good list of specific things that I like about it. I think the movie, and I'll get into this much more afterwards, I think the movie just works extremely well as, I don't know, it's it's as a full complete experience. There's not too many fragments to kind of call out here and there. But I guess let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So Caleb, played by Domhnall Gleeson, is a employee at a Google type company called Blue Book, where he's working at his desk when the movie opens, and he gets an email saying basically, "Hey, you won a contest." And we later find out that contest was for him to go to his boss's estate. And once he gets there, he meets his boss. His name is I'm blanking on the name right now.
Hold on.
Even though I watched this last night.
It's
Nathan. Yes. Yes, his boss's name is Nathan, played by Oscar Isaac, who does not look like Oscar Isaac in this movie.
I know, right?
Yeah, if you go from any of the new Star Wars movies to watching him in this movie, it's like that's a different dude. That,
Yeah.
it's not the same guy. But yeah, played by Oscar Isaac, and basically he gets there and reveals to Caleb that, hey, I really brought you here so you could be the human component in a Turing test against an AI that Nathan has created named Ava. And that's really all we can get into before, getting to spoilers. So obviously the whole episode's going to be a spoiler discussion, but I guess this is your final warning if you wanted one.
So if you haven't seen the film, go watch it, please.
Yes, very much. Yeah, please go watch it. I forgot to mention this was, I'm sure people already know if you've been keeping up with the podcast, but this was my recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I first watched this movie with my dad and some of his friends in 2015. I was 13 years old, so it was kind of fun near the end to watch it with my dad because there's quite a bit of nudity near the end of the movie. But yeah, that was my first viewing of it, and I just remember being completely blown away, but I didn't remember why until I watched the movie again.
And well, for me, for a long time I knew about the film's existence, but I wasn't really that interested in watching it. It just didn't seem like my kind of thing. And then for the podcast, I ended up watching it 2 days ago, and unlike Alec, I ended up watching it alone in my room because that's how I watch most of my films.
Well, that was how I watched mine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched it. It's actually it's a very fun factoid. The first movie that I watched in my new apartment. Yeah. So that's that. I watched it right over there. I'm not going to point over there. I'm not going to point my camera over there because it's an absolute mess. But it was a fun time, and I don't know if you've ever noticed. This is like a side tangent for a second. I have it on DVD. I have it on DVD, which is like it's one of the only like modern movies I own on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, like DVD quality on like newer movies is so much worse. Like than DVD quality of like older movies.
Well, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I'm guessing that it's because recent films are filmed in 1080p. And DVDs can't produce 1080p. It's like I saw that DVDs aren't even 720p. It's like 570p. So
it's like it's like either that or like 480p. It's like hovering around there.
Mm-hmm.
It's something ridiculous like that.
So
now that you mention it, I guess that does make sense that they would have to downscale it.
Yeah, the film's resolution was largely downscaled. And so, unlike other films, like older films that were shot on film, those films don't have pixels and stuff like that, so you don't see it, you don't notice it as much.
Yeah, because like the last time I remember watching like a movie strictly on DVD was Y Tu Mama Tambien, and it looked like fine. Like I was like, this just looks like I'm watching a Blu. This just looks like I'm watching a Blu-ray, but that's because it was shot in like 2001. So it's like, okay, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, back to the movie, I guess.
Yeah.
That was something I just wanted to mention of my viewing of it this time. But so I guess to get back into the actual story, this is where I guess we're kind of just gonna go through a bit of a play-by-play of what happens before we get into specific moments that we liked or like analysis, because I don't really have many specific points, but I do have a lot of analysis notes that I noticed this time around.
Yeah, same.
So, basically, picking up from where we left off, Caleb is the Turing test, or the human in a Turing test component with a robot, which if you don't know what a Turing test is, it's basically like a test to determine whether or not an AI has conscience or like has consciousness at all. Like if you're talking to an AI and you can't differentiate whether it's a human or an AI, then they pass the test. So Caleb begins to have sessions with Ava, and each session kind of builds in like intensity. Like the first one, I believe they just introduce themselves, and I can't exactly remember a play-by-play, but yeah, I gotta just give me a second. I'll find I'll find like a guide to keep me on, because I don't remember this movie quite as well as I did with like stuff like House.
Right.
So let's see. Okay, so yeah. So yeah, okay, here we go. So, he meets up with Ava, and Ava's kind of in this like sectioned off room, kind of like divided by glass, and he's kind of like, I don't know what the word would be. He's like kind of like intrigued by Ava. So once the first kind of session ends, he talks with Nathan, and Nathan just kind of asks him like, "Hey, what'd you think?" And then we go into kind of, I don't know, in following scenes, we're told that Caleb has access to cameras that can see into Ava's room. We learned that he is attracted to Ava, and she is as well. And Nathan makes this a very important factor in the Turing test. I just realized this movie is really hard to summarize.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Unlike House, where it's like, the beginning, the middle, and the ending are all very different. But with this film, everything is kind of like very similar. It just progressively gets sort of like weirder and weirder.
It's just such like, I don't know. I honestly think I'm gonna abandon my summary, because like,
yeah,
like I'll maybe, I don't know. I think,
well, to make to make it really quick, just so like people can understand. Basically, it's just a repetition of Caleb talking to Ava, and then talking to Nathan again to tell him what's going on and everything. But the more it goes, the more he learns that there's some weird shit going on, that Nathan is not a really trustworthy guy, and that Ava, he also ends up falling in love with Ava, and she's probably also falling in love with him. And by the end, they decide, all right, I'm gonna get Nathan blackout drunk, and then we're gonna escape. And
I can I think the ending can be summarized pretty well.
The ending can definitely be summarized.
It's definitely like that middle part where it's kind of the repetition is just like, I think you did it perfectly.
Thank you.
Okay. Basically, during these sessions, we've learned that Ava is causing power outages during their talks, so that she can communicate with Caleb without arousing the suspicion of Nathan. So during one of these power outages, Caleb basically says, "Yeah, I'm gonna get Nathan blackout drunk, and we're gonna escape." So the next day, Caleb is discovered by Nathan. His whole plan is discovered because Nathan put a camera in the room that was battery operated so that he could watch the whole exchange. And he reveals the true nature of the Turing test. Mm-hmm. It was not to see whether or not, I guess it really wasn't to see whether or not that, like, I don't know, that like Caleb could interact with this robot well. It was mainly to see if Ava could deceive Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up finding out that that's the case. That basically Caleb reveals to Nathan that he had already hacked the security system to let Ava out once the power outage started. Caleb is knocked out by Nathan and left in the room. Nathan escapes the room and is promptly killed by Ava and his assistant, who we haven't mentioned yet, who's also a robot named Kyoko. He's basically killed by those two. Kyoko is also killed by Nathan at this point. Ava goes into the room where Caleb is, asks him to wait there. She replaces all of her mechanical parts with skin from other robot bodies that Nathan has built and trashed along the way. And basically morphs herself into an actual like full humanoid, I guess would be the word. And then she walks out of the room, locks Caleb in the room forever, and leaves the house and goes out into the real world. And that's Ex Machina.
Yep.
So what did you think of the movie, Phil?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. In general, I'm not the kind of guy who's way into science, but in general, I find stuff like space and new technologies to be pretty interesting. I like most people, I think. And so, that's something that I want to talk about later in the podcast. Maybe talk about sort of like our opinions on artificial intelligence and what it's going to do to the world and everything. But for the movie, I thought it was a really interesting film to watch, a really good take on AIs. I thought it was also in some parts incredibly well written, and the acting's great. I'm gonna talk about that in more details later, but Oscar Isaac's character I thought it was so funny.
Oh my god. We can mention a specific scene, and I think you're gonna mention the same one. But Oscar Isaac, while Caleb is watching the cameras, barges into Ava's room and tears up a drawing that she made. This is all like kind of a masquerade so that he could distract them and place the camera that would bust their plan later on. But later that day, Caleb confronts Nathan in a room, or he confronts Kyoko, the assistant. Nathan discovers the two of them. Nathan verbatim says, "Why are you wasting your time talking with her when you could be dancing with her?" And then he turns on a light and like some dance music comes on.
Yeah.
And then my favorite line in the entire movie happens.
I think it's gonna be mine as well.
Yep. Caleb goes, "Why'd you you tore up her drawing? Why'd you do that?" He goes, "I'm about to tear up this fucking dance floor, dude. Check this out." and he shuffles away and starts dancing with Kyoko for like 40 seconds. It's so good.
It's
an incredible moment.
There was another line that was like one of two lines that made me laugh out loud. I don't remember what it was, but it was another line from Nathan. It was right after the first interaction between Caleb and Ava, and Caleb got into this really big explanation of what he thought and was asking those big questions and everything, and Nathan was like, "Dude, just tell me, what did you think of her?" And Caleb answers and says, "She's fucking awesome." And I don't remember what he says, but Nathan says "hell yeah" or something like that. I don't remember.
He's like, "You're goddamn right."
You're goddamn right. Yeah.
There's another incredible moment from Oscar Isaac as Nathan, where he brings up a really interesting point about just human interaction in general. Because Caleb, after one of the sections, asks Nathan, "Why did you give her sexuality?" He replies that, basically all human interaction stems from a few core things. One of those things being sexuality. And obviously I can't explain all of it here because it's a lot to go over. But but that's basically what it boils down to. And it gets pretty funny in that scene because he's like, "Are you asking if you can have sex with her?" And he goes, "'Cause you can." And then Caleb's like, no. He's like, "I programmed that."
Yeah.
It was so good.
It's really I'd say it was funnier than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, it has a lot of comedic moments, but that is also supplemented with some extremely dark moments, especially near the end of the film. Which is another thing I wanted to, like, another lens I guess you could look through this movie through upon different viewings is who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist. Because you would like to think that it's, like Caleb's the protagonist, Nathan's the antagonist, and Ava is just the victim.
Yeah, the damsel in distress.
Yeah, but you could also think about it like this. I think the twist of the movie is taking Ava not as a damsel in distress, but as the actual protagonist in the situation. Because she basically takes over the control that Caleb seized from Nathan and leaves them both in the dust as she exits the estate.
Yeah.
And I guess you could also see her as a twist antagonist if you wanted to go that route.
In a way, yeah, I'd say.
Yeah. You can really look at most of the characters in this movie as, like, through different lenses. Because, there's really only 4 characters. 5 if you count the helicopter pilot who's in it for a minute.
Best character of the film.
Yeah, best character of the film. Because they're in the helicopter and he's like, when do we get to his estate? And he laughs and he goes, this is the estate.
We've been flying over his estate for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's actually the first note I wrote in my notes. It's like, this dude is disgustingly rich.
Oh, yeah. It's a moment. There was a really interesting thing. So they sold the screenplay is officially being published by A24. So you can go out there if you feel so inclined. I feel like I might do it sometime in the future. If you'd like to buy the entire screenplay, you can on A24's website.
I like that.
But somebody noticed that initial interaction between Caleb and the helicopter pilot lasts 2 pages. While the interaction in the movie is only 2 lines. So it's basically the same kind of exposition of just kind of like back and forth stating how rich Nathan is. But I think the editing in this film too is brilliant because you get this immediate moment of, like, you immediately know what that entire 2-page exchange boiled down to is that Nathan's extremely rich and we're going to meet him at his estate. You get that from those 2 lines, which is incredible. The fact that they were able to do that.
That's something that I noticed is the film from the very beginning tries to go to, like, the first scene where Caleb and Nathan meet. It tries to go there so fast, like the beginning of when Caleb learns that he won the contest and everything just goes by so fast. It's not a single line of dialogue, just him seeing I guess there is some dialogue, but just him seeing like the message, like, oh, you won, and then everyone around him being like, hey, congrats, and then helicopter, just like that. And it's in 2 minutes you understand what's going on, and Caleb is meeting Nathan, and you're ready to start the movie.
Yeah, I think the film is extremely effective at just presenting information. Another thing I guess I forgot to mention during the explanation of the ending is that midway through the movie we learned that Caleb was not randomly selected to win any kind of contest. He was very much selected by Nathan. Not for his programming prowess, but just because he was good at heart and was vulnerable to companionship, to the idea of companionship due to his parents dying when he was young and not being in a relationship, which is so messed up. But it's so interesting. It's like, oh my god. Yeah. But it's also revealed that Ava was specifically created to worm into Caleb's mind, because it's revealed near the end that Nathan created Ava due to or according to Nathan's or to Caleb's pornography preferences.
Yep.
Which is, oh my god. Like this movie, because like even in 2015, I guess you could like this was obviously after like I think wasn't 2015 after the Edward Snowden leaks.
I have no idea when that happened. I was not following
it was definitely like early 2010s, but it was not even like a really that prevalent of topic in 2015. So this film also remains topical today because it's also revealed that Ava was created using the thought patterns of people all over the world using Blue Book, Google.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was interesting. I like how topical even old artificial intelligence movies are still topical today.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll get into that a bit later, but let's see. I think there's a couple other good lenses to look through this for. There were two that I came across while doing a bit of research for this episode. There's one that I came across randomly on Letterboxd that I wanted to mention because I don't think it's the point of the movie. I think it's a decently interesting way to look at the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was posted on Letterboxd by a user named Dorsey, who posted a 5-star review of the movie, stating that their opinion is that the movie is about the ways, and I'm quoting them pretty much here.
Right.
I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but this is their review. I'll link it in the description. It's about the ways that men treat women. The obvious misogynist, Nathan, considers women as a tool for him to control and have his way with at his leisure. Kyoko. The nice guy, Caleb, wants to be the friend and liberator to women, but that interest comes and goes proportional to how much he wants to have sex with them. No matter how similar in intellect and skill they might be. They believe it's up to them to determine their worth, freedom, or personhood. I don't believe that was the exact point of the movie, but I think it's a decently interesting way to look at it.
Well, I mean, a lot of films have a bunch of different ways, like a bunch of different theories of things that could be what it's really about. And so, I think the question of is that really what they meant to say is not really the right question to ask. Because, I mean, for a lot of directors, their answer is whatever you want to, it can work, whatever you say,
Yeah. And I think I really wanted to highlight that specific review because it got me thinking after the movie. I'm like, I wouldn't have thought to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Really.
No, I didn't think about that, but it makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense in a way. I like that review.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is another lens to look through the movie through.
Yes.
That I liked a lot, which is expanding off of the idea of looking at the movie as an allegory for God. So, obviously, obviously in the beginning of the movie, Caleb says to Nathan after he's revealed to Ava, he says like, this isn't just the history of humans. This is the history of a God. And Nathan Nathan kind of feeds into that and keeps on going with his God complex basically throughout the story.
Yeah.
But the God theory kind of like stems off the idea of even the title, which Ex Machina is derivative from the term Deus Ex Machina, which in Latin means a God from a machine. And in the title, it removes the word that meant God. So, and even in the movie, Ava kills Nathan, removing basically what is God. I thought there's a video that goes into it a lot better than I could ever do, and I think it's hold on, let me go get the channel name specifically, because it was one that I watched this morning and I really enjoyed it. It was it's called Ex Machina's Hidden Meaning: The Death of God, by Logos Made Flesh on YouTube. So if you're wanting to get a really interesting perspective on the entire structure of the movie, I would say go through there, or go to that channel, because I really enjoyed that analysis. And the last, I guess, point or detail that I wanted to mention is something else that I saw mentioned in a YouTube video. I believe it might have been lessons from the screenplay. It might not have been. But there's the scene, so the scene of Caleb entering the estate is the exact same path that Ava takes in reverse at the end of the movie. Yeah, which I didn't notice until obviously that was pointed out. I'm like, oh, well, look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I just think this movie is super interesting. I think it's a really interesting, just kind of thought-provoking movie, I guess you would say. It kind of it has me ranting because I don't really solidly know what I want to say about this movie other than it's interesting and I love it a lot.
Yeah, it's a really interesting film.
Yeah. Was there any like interesting takeaways that you had from your experience?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I wanted to mention, to kind of get more into like the film itself, how it was made, was for the scenes where Caleb is talking to Ava. I just thought they were so the screenwriting for these scenes, the dialogues were so good. Like, I don't have unfortunately any specific line or anything, but I thought that, I don't know, it was just I saw that and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I would see an artificial intelligence saying that. And it's the kind of dialogue that make especially when you there's the like the power outbreak. No. Yeah,
the power outage. Yeah.
Where she's kind of like Kelly's kind of like panicking a little bit, and he's like, oh shit, what's going on? And Ava just says like, don't trust Nathan and everything. And I saw that and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. it is an extremely like, oh, okay kind of moment. It's like, oh.
That's funny because one of my first notes that I put was Oscar Isaac's character is weird and I don't trust him.
Yeah, you're definitely not meant to trust Nathan.
No, and it actually comes back a few times in my notes where I'm like, all right, I do not trust him, and I'm sure that he's gonna end up like doing some bad shit to Caleb.
Yeah. I think it's really good that you mentioned just the writing of those session scenes, because you got me jogging on a couple of those a couple of those scenes. Like specifically, there's the part that kind of feeds into the idea that Ava's a learning AI, kind of like it's very much a point towards her being an AI that's still learning how to be human. Is the scene where Caleb, says like or she shows him a drawing that she made, and he goes, "Okay, I want you to draw anything," and he says it has to be of your choosing, and she goes, "Why?" And he goes, "I'm interested to see what you decide." And later in that session, Ava throws the line back at him. I don't remember the exact context of what she says.
Was it like how she wanted him to talk about his life? Anyway,
yes, that's
it. Was like,
it's like,
where do you want me to start? You choose. So something like that.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, I want to see what you'll decide.
Yeah.
And he remarks to Nathan directly after the scene. He's like, she made a joke. And that's one of my favorite moments from the sessions. But my favorite session is I think it's either the 5th or 6th session where Ava asks a series of questions to Caleb, and determines whether or not he's telling the truth. This whole scene is perfect. It is so...
It's really good.
It's so, like, meticulous in how it reveals, like, the information that's being presented. Like, it, like just like many other scenes in the movie, it just kind of leaves you hanging on everything that is being said between the two of them. So, like, there's, obviously, they talk about, like, or I think probably I can't remember, like, one of the more or she says, she asks, like, are you a good person? And that is, like, that's the only question, because, like, all the other questions, even, like, what's your favorite color, she outright says is a lie. Caleb, in response to the do you think you're a good person question, says that yes, he kind of thinks that he's a good person. She just moves on. And I thought that was an interesting kind of I guess direction for that to go in. But here's another screenplay only like thing that was cut from the movie, is that initially the final question that Ava asks, do you want to be with me, is cut off, and we do not get to hear Caleb's response. In the screenplay, the scene continues. Basically he says that yes, he does, and says that he doesn't trust Nathan, and that he wants them to escape together. It's another case of, we learned this later on anyway, so it wasn't really a need for that to happen, or for that to be in the movie. So it's again a really cool cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the things from the sessions that I particularly enjoyed.
Yeah. There was another note that I wrote, just like as a little thing, to talk about more about the technical side of how the film was made, which is this one is kind of a low budget film. I think it's like $16 million.
Yeah.
But it's not the kind of film that has a lot of that much special effects, especially for a sci-fi film. But the special effects on the robots, especially on Ava, they're so good.
You can absolutely tell that that's where not all of the budget went through, but a big
part of it.
A big part of the special effects, for sure. Because, like, there's to my, I guess, to anyone's eye, like, that's obviously the thing in the movie that's computer generated. But, like, most of the other stuff, like, aside from a few touch-ups, looks completely real. The way that that's another thing I wanted to mention, but I forgot. The scene where she's putting on all the body parts from the different robots and everything is so, like, interesting as just to how that probably worked, because I've seen the behind the scenes where, like, it's shown Alicia Vikander in that in, like, a not a green screen suit, but it's like a special effects suit that
the, like, motion capture thing, right?
Yeah, the motion capture that allowed them to do the robot body around her, like, real face. But the scene where she's, like, taking off parts from, like, other robots and, like, attaching them to her own skin is so interesting, and I want to know how they did it.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Because I watch it and I'm like, whoa. It's an oddly beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Like, it feels, I guess the best way to describe it is, like, it feels like you feel like the liberation that she, like, and just kind of like the humanization of her being, like, an actual person now due to these new parts, pretty much, like, by just visually at least. But you also get just the dreading darkness of, like, just kind of the whole situation. It's like, oh, feels uncomfortable. I love it.
Yeah. That was a good scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's kind of all I got for like surface level comments, I guess, or just from what I wrote in my notes and everything. That's all I got.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I just have a few small things.
Sure.
Well, every interaction, every scene that's an interaction between Caleb and Ava starts with like a text. I don't remember what it says. It's like test number.
It's like Ava session 1, session 2.
And I like how the last scene that they had where they talk together when like after Ava has killed Nathan is shown as Ava session number 7, like it's one of the other sessions. I thought it was really neat because it's
it really like that's now that you mentioned that is like a really good indication that like you think that something's different, but like at the end of the day it's still like he's still gonna, or like someone's gonna end up trapped, because it doesn't feel like liberating once you see the text that just says Ava session 7. It's like, oh, it's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I thought it was a really nice touch. I wrote a note that said, Yukio is weird as well. I'm expecting she's gonna start the robot apocalypse. Because I don't remember what scene it was, but there was a scene. I think it was when the scene when Caleb stole Nathan's car and he went to his room and he saw like he saw her like naked.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the way it was, I was like, yeah, no, I don't trust her at all.
Yeah. Kyoko, like, because like the way she's introduced is just kind of as Nathan's assistant, and he just kind of says, oh, she doesn't understand English, and you kind of assume that's because like, oh, Caleb just kind of got someone who's not like from the country in and just didn't teach him English to be his assistant. No, he created her and just didn't program any kind of language into her other than like a few phrases, which is so crazy.
Yeah, that's actually something that I kind of understood before it was revealed. Like in one of the first scenes with her, I was like, I'm pretty sure she's a robot.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was funny, and the last thing I have, which is just a really small thing, but I thought was nice. Which how do you the actor who plays Caleb? How do you pronounce his name?
Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah, Domhnall Gleeson. He's a British actor who I only knew him for being one of the Weasleys in Harry Potter. He's Bill Weasley in the last films, and so that's all I knew from him. So I expected him to be British, but then he had, I thought he had a really good American accent.
No, it was like a great American accent.
Yeah,
it like fooled me until I remembered like, oh yeah, he's from Harry Potter. Like it's like yeah, I've seen him before.
Yeah. No, but he says he's from Long Island, and it's like, yeah, I believe it. But yeah, honestly, that was pretty much all I had to say about it. So, well, I guess, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to talk more about like what's our opinions on artificial intelligence. Like, after I finished the movie, I thought that would be a good discussion to have after the film.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's not only is it relevant, but it's interesting conversation. For sure.
In general, yeah. So, well, in general, what do you think about AIs?
It's the same thing I think about technology. I think it's really interesting that, or like, I think the advancements we've made in technology, even in just like the last 20 years, is really cool, but it's also, terrifying. It's like obviously it's like the cool stuff is like, oh, we have computers in our pockets now, or like we can do anything we want, or we can know anything we want.
We have the technology where we can just be two idiots talking about a film and people will listen.
Exactly.
What?
The fact that we can do this right now is unknowable outside of like a couple critics here and there throughout like the history of like television. I mean, but like
before the internet. Before the internet, who could do what we're doing besides like Roger Ebert?
Yeah, like
not a lot,
like Siskel
not
and
a lot
Ebert,
of people.
Like, like nobody. Like other than like people like newspaper critics or like magazine critics, it wasn't a thing until the internet became a thing. Now that we have the internet, we can do whatever we want, which is amazing, but also kind of terrifying in a way, and that gives way to artificial intelligence. And I'm sure you've had these moments where, like, you'll say something, like, in a regular conversation, and later on, like, Amazon or something, you'll get a suggested thing. Like, I obviously recently moved into this apartment. I was talking to my dad about buying a shelf. On Amazon the next day, I got recommended a shelf.
Yep.
So I was like, it's like, obviously, now that's just commonplace, but, like, even 3 years ago, that's a moment of like, oh my god, what?
I remember in my last year of high school, we had a class, we had a finance class, and I don't remember why, but the topic of the class ended up being around this, and the teacher was talking about how that was a thing, and I didn't really know about it, and then a few weeks later, I was talking to my brother about. I don't remember what exactly, but about a certain object. And then the next day, I went on YouTube and I had an ad next to the video about that specific object that we were talking about. And I was like, whoa! Yeah, this is crazy.
It's wild. Yeah. No, I was... I guess the other thing to say is that, like, when it comes to technology, you get a lot of, like... I guess... You kind of have for a lot of vocal people, what you have is kind of like a very black and white, like either they don't care or they're extremely vocal about them not being, too privy to like the new technology. It's usually older people, to the new technology that's being, out there. But most people, I think, live in just kind of the gray area of thought where it's like, I'm uncomfortable with like some of the things that are, happening with technology, and will happen with technology in the future. Like eventually we're going to get to a time where privacy, like we're already there pretty much, but like,
definitely.
Yeah. We're going to get to a time where it's like non-existent, even on like on a level that you can be aware. It's like, and it's going to be like scary, like knowing that, the not much is private anymore, but it's also going to be extremely convenient. Like not to go completely like 1984 crazy on you, but like, that like to kind of throw in a point to the positive side of technology, life is going to be so even more convenient than it is now.
Yeah,
it's like, and eventually it's going to be like, I truly do think eventually it's going to be like that Futurama episode where they get like the like headphones, or like the phones that like you plug into your head and like you can just like see everything in your like eyes.
Yeah,
it's going to be like crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that was like a Simpson episode where they show the future of like when the kids have become adults, and they instead of having a screen where they look at on their computer, they just have like a thing that they plug into their neck, and then they basically just fall asleep, and then they go into the world of the internet.
That's absolutely gonna happen.
Well, all right. The way that it's made in The Simpsons kind of seems pretty unrealistic.
Well, obviously, but so that's the thing, is that like they have that, like that seems pretty unrealistic as well. But like even in past future episodes that they did, like there's the episode they did, I think it's like one of the first future episodes, the Lisa's wedding one, they're shown to have like video camera phones, which mobile phones weren't even like that widespread a thing by the time that episode came out.
Yeah,
So
it was a time where mobile phones were those huge bricks.
Yeah, those huge bricks that only like wealthy people would have.
Right.
So, but I'm trying to remember where I was going with a certain thing, but I don't quite remember.
All right. Well,
I'll remember in a bit, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. I wanted to add, like, I remember this video I saw a few months ago that I thought was just so crazy, and maybe you saw it because the kind of video that was in everybody's recommended.
Oh,
it was this kind of like interview in I think it was the 1960s or 70s, that was about a specific computer at the time where computers were just were those giant machines, and it's the guy said by the year 2000 every household in America is going to have a computer, and it's and I mean today, like, everyone has a phone which is like 1,000 times more powerful than the computer that was shown on there.
Yeah, and, like I haven't seen that specific video, but I have heard that quote.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's extremely interesting that like stuff. Well, obviously, like that, it kind of makes sense at the way that technology was increasing, but I don't think anyone imagined it to be like the curve that it ended up being, because it really was like for like 70 years we just had like a steady, like kind of like it's kind of going up sometimes, but it's a very flat curve until then. It's like 1999 it exploded, and like
pretty much
we got like, or like around there we got like 3 game consoles. We got like the first mobile phones that people would get. iPhone would come out 7 years after that.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
And it's been over 20 years since that happened, and we have the ability to create simulations. Like we can create video games that sometimes are like indistinguishable from how life is, and it's insane.
Have you heard how like a mobile phone, an object that most human beings have in their pocket at almost all time, and it's a computer that is a lot. I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot more powerful than the computer that was used in the 1960s to send humans to the moon.
Yeah, well, like the computer that was used back then was like not even like a floppy disk's worth of memory.
Oh man,
and that's like incredible.
Well, that's another comparison of like how floppy disks didn't really hold that much information compared to a tiny SD card that can hold like a fucking terabyte.
Yeah, it's insane, like the rapid pace that stuff's moving at. And obviously they mention it in Ex Machina, but obviously eventually we're going to reach a singularity. I don't think it's going to happen for a good while, because we still have a way to go. We still have a way to go till everything's perfect. AI at this point isn't that perfect. It's kind of scary, but it's not like indistinguishable from real life. But
no.
I think what Ex Machina shows is kind of a world where like, or just kind of that idea of like eventually this is probably going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I've always liked stories that deal with like the humanity of artificial intelligence. Like even you can say what you want about Detroit Become Human or the director writer David Cage.
I haven't played any of his games.
Yeah. You can say what you want about him as a writer. But I've always at least enjoyed his concepts. He can go he can go a bit too much into his head during certain story stuff, but Detroit Become Human is like just very fascinating all the way through, and that's a story about like artificial intelligence gaining like citizenship through like like choices that you make. You can either like make sure like everything goes completely peacefully, that there's not like much bloodshed at all, or you can make it a war, or you could like bomb buildings, or like just go like on a complete like revolution. And I think that like stories about AI is just fun. I was even trying to think about it after I watched Ex Machina. I'm like, how many of those movies, or like even just stories in general, are there that I've seen that stuck in my brain, quite like Ex Machina?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, obviously there's Ex Machina. I just mentioned Detroit, but it's like at the moment I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just remembered. Well, hold on. I'm just gonna charge my laptop a bit because it's kind of low on battery. So just hold on a bit. So I remember something that I wanted to mention to the podcast, which is how this film is actually very similar to another film which I saw a few weeks ago, which is Her.
Oh yeah,
with what's his face?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes. And Scarlett Johansson and everything. And
that's another one of my recommended films for us to talk about eventually.
Mm-hmm. So, for that reason, I'm not gonna get too into Her, but it's just like Ex Machina. It's a film about a guy meeting a very realistic AI and falling in love with her. Main difference is that the AI in Her is not a test; it's an actual thing that's been released, and it's not a robot. It's not a thing that has a body. It's just basically a nap on his computer.
Yeah, we get to see in Ex Machina, we see what's obviously like the prototype stage of like an AI, just between two real people. We see those interactions, but in Her, the lens that we get to see it through is a much bigger, like, I guess, societal lens, I guess you'd call it. Is we see kind of like how we see, like, obviously the movie is told from the perspective of the main character and his AI, but we also get glimpses as to what other people think about robot-human relationships, and just how the world is, kind of morphing along to this AI taking over, like, just kind of like, not like taking over too much, but kind of like, taking its place in modern society, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a really cool kind of juxtaposition with both films, is you get to see kind of like, I don't know, what two people think about it versus like what a whole world would think about it.
Mm-hmm. So I don't really know if I have anything else to add really on the comparison with Her. But there was just something that I thought was interesting to mention. Yeah. I don't really know that many films about specifically AIs.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of them, and not only is it about AI, it's a romance between an AI and a human.
Yeah,
so it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like. I don't even know why I didn't mention Her when it came to my movies and stories about artificial intelligence, because I saw that one recently too, and I was like, obviously very blown away by it.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of all I got for that comparison as well. And I think I don't know. We got to what my views on artificial intelligence are. What are your views?
It's I'm not really that. I haven't really done research,
Right.
I can only say so much, but I don't really. I don't really feel good with saying stuff about something that I'm not really. I don't really know about. Because generally I feel like those people the people who talk about stuff without knowing about it are the kind of people who are going to say that the vaccines are gonna kill you and that the coronavirus is fake. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to be compared to those people, obviously.
Right. But I think I don't know, I guess a way to rephrase it as it's kind of the same way that that Nathan refers to it in the film. Not from an analytical sense, but what do you think? Like personally about the idea of
I think
a whole new state of, I guess, consciousness.
I think the idea of AI is pretty cool. It's if I'm look at it in the most like sort of optimist way, in a way that AIs are going to be a thing. They're going to be super realistic, almost like an actual, really close to like an actual human being, but they're not going to turn evil and they're not going to kill us all. If I'm going with this sort of mindset, then they seem pretty freaking cool. And wouldn't it be awesome to have an actual friend who's an AI?
Yeah, that was that was another thing I forgot to mention when it came to her, is that like you get like, I don't know, the way that I thought about it is like that'd be super cool to like kind of have like a personal robot assistant. Or I guess just very smart AI that could be like an assistant, but also like a like an actual person to talk to.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a very interesting thing. It could be it could be awesome. Just like, hey guys, this is my bro. He's an AI. That would be sick. I'd love that.
Imagine doing a podcast with an AI.
Dude, imagine in like fucking 10 years when we're at like, or maybe more, when we're at like almost 1,000 episodes of Movie Dudes, and we're just like having a podcast with an AI. Oh, that would be amazing.
Mark my words, like if we ever get to a state of the world where we have her like artificial intelligence in our for consumer availability, I will do a podcast where co-host is like a robotic intelligence. That would be that'd be so amazing.
What film would that AI want to talk about? That is my question.
Oh my god, if we did Movie Dudes with robots.
What film? Because it would be so awkward to talk about a film that shows AIs as the bad guy.
Yeah,
that'd be such an awkward situation.
We talk about 2000. We talk about 2001.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about. Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh man. That was just because I was like the film that I have in front of me. But imagine making a film, a podcast about an AI, and he's just thinking about like a Wes Anderson film or just something that has nothing to do with AIs. That would be the best.
Yeah, like a really emotional film like Royal Tenenbaums. I don't know. Yeah. I feel I guess if we were getting to a point where it's like her, I guess we would kind of get we would get robots or artificial intelligence that would have not emotions but would have a very deeper understanding of them. But I guess they would kind of have emotions. I don't know. That's the thing we're definitely going to have to talk about in the Her episode, because that's another thing about that movie that I still think about sometimes. It's like, is that do the artificial intelligence in that movie have feelings, or is it fake?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, I was thinking about especially this scene in Her where they go on a double date with Chris Pratt and his girlfriend, and they just have a conversation with her, joking with each other and just having fun. And it's like, if that ends up happening, we could definitely do a podcast with an AI.
Of course, yeah. If it's like that, my God.
Oh man, that would be the best.
It would be. What would the world even be like? I don't know.
That would be a world that has nothing to do with the world that we're living in. I mean, the idea, like, humans will have created life, and someone will have such a god complex somewhere. I don't know who.
Oh.
Maybe Elon Musk. Maybe the Amazon guy. I forgot his name.
Bezos.
One of those guys is gonna have such a god complex. Whoever actually comes up with that kind of AI.
Yeah, like we're gonna have a guy in the future that's like Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, there's gonna be that guy who just discovered the perfect algorithm.
It's gonna be Elon Musk. Let's face it.
You think Elon's gonna be the one?
Well, the way that it's with what's going on right now. I mean, Elon Musk is the guy who's planning on making a fucking spaceship that's gonna go in space and just show ads. Like, I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that. What?
Yeah, no, yeah. He's planning on actually doing that. He's gonna say, he's gonna send like a fucking spaceship to space. That's its entire purpose is gonna be to show ads, which is the most stupid idea I've ever heard. And I think
that's so dystopian.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, that's that's a joke that's in The Simpsons. So if it happens, there's gonna be another thing that they got right. But in the same episode I was talking about earlier, they it's Bart and Lisa that are looking at the stars, and then the stars just start forming an ad for Duff beer. So this is the part in technology advancements where I think this is going too far. Let's just step down a bit.
That's the thing, though, is that we're definitely going to have that. Like, I feel like that's like, I don't remember if her really touches on that. I
don't think so.
Because, targeted advertising wasn't exactly a big thing back in 2013 when her was released. But in the future, it's absolutely going to be ads at every corner. We're already kind of getting that with the internet in general. But I guess stepping back a little bit, it's back to the earlier point of Elon Musk doing the big space billboard. I guess I don't know. I think in a way I think you're right, but in another way I don't know, because Elon has pushed the envelope in the past with Tesla. Wasn't he the dude who did PayPal? Wasn't that Musk as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It wasn't.
So yeah, he's pioneered electronic money management, electronic cars.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he definitely has the drive to do it. I think if anyone was going to be the guy, it would probably be him.
Yeah.
But it could also just be some random dude out there.
Oh yeah,
or just some random person that just is just working on some kind of code, and they go oh, I have an idea.
But that's also kind of something that I wanted to talk about if we're still on Elon Musk.
Of course.
This guy is... I feel like his ambitions are too big, and I think he wants to advance technology too fast.
Yeah,
not just him, but also the other big companies in terms of technology. What were you gonna say?
But yeah, him specifically is definitely like that Neuralink stuff. Do you remember that? Musk,
no.
He started a company called Neuralink, where he was trying to speed up the process of us getting technology that's linked to our brain activity. He was trying to get that ball rolling immediately, and everyone was like, hey, wait. It was Elon, hold on.
No, this yeah. No, Elon Musk's kind of interesting person in how 3 years ago he was the most loved person by the internet, because he was this really this guy that was gonna make sci-fi real and everything, and the more he's doing stuff, the more everyone's I'm not too sure about that guy. He seems kind of weird.
He's a very weird guy.
Yeah.
He's also just a weird guy to listen to. I don't know if you've ever like seen a clip. Like there's obviously the episodes he was on of Joe Rogan. But just like if you listen to those clips, he's not a very interesting man to listen to. But he also like thinks in such an abstract way that like I think he might be able to do some crazy stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to think about Elon Musk sometimes, I guess is what to say. But yeah, it was like years ago, like you said, like a couple of years ago, he was the most loved person on the internet, but he's just kind of, you know, proven himself to be like not like crazy, but definitely like one of those giants out there, like Jeff Bezos, that's just like so detached from any kind of reality that we have.
Well, yeah, what it is he's just as weird as any person would be if they had over $100 billion net worth.
It's true, yeah.
Like his net worth, I have it in front of me. It's $182.1 billion. What the fuck? That makes no sense. Who has that?
Nobody is going to be the same. No one's going to be even close to someone who makes like say you make like 100,000 a year. He's not even going to be on the same level as someone who's in like the upper class. That's different world kind of money. Because even when you're like affluent and have like a nice house and a nice neighborhood, you still are a little bit connected to like you know the people who are financially like less off than that.
Yeah.
But Elon Musk and like Jeff Bezos is like a whole nother world of like we don't comprehend it, and they definitely don't comprehend us.
I mean, $182 billion, the right adjective for that is not big, it's not giant, it's absurd.
It is.
Like, it makes no sense. What do you do with that money?
You think about it, and like, you living as you are now have not even probably spent like $1.5 million in your lifetime.
No, probably not.
You have probably spent like a good chunk under that, and their net worth is that times an unthinkable number.
It really is kind of dystopian.
It's a very odd thing to think about. It's like
yeah. Because I mean, I remember like I think it was like 3 years ago when Jeff Bezos became the wealthiest man on Earth. He also became the first man to have 100 billion, and now Elon Musk is at almost twice that amount.
It's something, all right.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's I guess another thing to say just about like the economy, at least in America, the current thing that is like prevailing within just like regular like people day to day is minimum wage being like raised to $15.
Yeah, because I heard that like it didn't grow since like 2009.
It hasn't, but
that's insane.
If I'm being honest, this is my like I'm not an economist, obviously.
Right.
But this is my like point of view of it. I don't see how that really helps anything, because it's gonna be good for like a couple of years. Like if we get like if minimum wage raises to like up to that number, oh my god, like the amount of like stuff that people can do for a few years is gonna be insane.
Yeah.
But that's gonna create inflation, and stuff's gonna be just as bad as it is now in like 10 years.
Well, yeah, that's the issue. It's not necessarily the issue is not necessarily that the minimum wage is too small. It's more that with the minimum wage, if that's your salary, you can't really do anything with that. Like you can't own an apartment, you can't pay rent, you can't buy groceries and everything.
It's not even a political stance. It's just a fact. Like if you
it's just a fact. Yeah,
you have I grew up with my dad doing two jobs, two jobs, and that just enough to like afford like a apartment. That's insane.
Right.
Even
No,
in the
it's
like even in the apartment I live in right now, I would not be able to live here if I had a minimum wage job. I don't.
right.
Like I have one that's like a little bit above minimum wage, but that's like just enough.
Yeah, and I have a minimum wage job, and I live in Canada where
Yeah.
the minimum wage is much higher. I mean, it is. Hold on, I want to see. In Canadian dollar, the minimum wage is $13 and 50 cents, which in US dollars is $10 $0.74. Which is still, I'm not sure. What's the minimum wage in the US right now?
It's about. I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong. It's about like I know it's like around $8.50, I believe. It might be like $9. I don't know. I worked a minimum wage job for a summer, like or for a couple summers, and it was like it was definitely not good money, but it's also it didn't matter that I would remember. It wasn't important to me for it wasn't important for me to remember. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
But like now that I'm older, it's like you kind of. Even if you get like financial support from your parents, like I do, like I'm in college, obviously, and my parents help me with that. But if you were to, like, there are people out there that I know that are going it alone, like even going to college on their own salary, and I'm like, that's insane. That's like incomprehensible to me.
Yeah, dude. All right, college is one of the reasons why I'm very happy to not be in the U.S. Cause
count your lucky stars. You're Canadian and going to college. I know,
dude. I pay nothing for college compared to the U.S. It's crazy.
It's really bad. It's especially horrible. It's really funny. To come from, I don't know, like, this is like not off topic, but it's on topic as well. It's really funny to come from like a family of people who, just kind of, they either didn't go to college or they went to college, but for like a really practical job, like education. Like my mom was an educator.
All right.
So, like you have all these, and then to tell them like, oh, I have a liberal arts degree on the way. That's always funny because it's like nobody ever looks down on me for it, but it's a weird moment where you're just kind of like, I'm going to college, but like this is not a practical skill.
Right.
Like I don't know if I guess the word to say is that like, or I guess what the topic, the way to summarize my experience on the topic and how I see myself in the future is that like I think I'll be okay, but if I wanted to okay, that's the good thing about America, I guess, is that even though you have to pay a lot for college and stuff like that, most people, and obviously we're still working on this, it's still kind of an issue amongst just people in general, but like most people now have the opportunity to, like, if you want to, you can go to like a trade school or something, like not even college, to like learn a trade, like industry or like electrical or something like that, and make a lot of money if you're smart about it. If you're smart about it and know like what jobs are really good right now, then I think you'll be fine to just live. But there comes the issue of people who didn't really get an education higher than high school,
right,
and there's a lot of issues of like whether or not the economy is going to be able to sustain something like that, which I'm not a political person. I don't even really know much about politics. That's why I do a movie podcast. But yeah, no, I think it's good to talk about these things from time to time, because it's just, I think it's especially interesting, might I say, to have this conversation with someone who's not American.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
because it's like, because all the conversations I have obviously are people who live around me, so it's like I don't really get to know what the other side is like.
Well, I'll be honest, it's kind of the opposite for me, where like, you know, a lot of times on the news we're going to see stuff about what's going on in America, and then I'll be talking to my Canadian family and be like, dude, I am so happy I'm Canadian. I mean, you know, you laugh, but you know, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff going on.
There have been so many moments. Like I've never, I have always been okay with living in America. I'm glad I do. I'm not like, I don't know about, you know, being prideful or whatever. But
but there's always worst.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to living anywhere, but like there have been moments where like this was especially true during the early days of the pandemic, where you know, like we would get news from other countries like New Zealand. Obviously, they're so much smaller than us, but I think it talks much more on like a bigger scale of like how it's like a society acts, because like in New Zealand, obviously it's not like totalitarian or something, but like, you know, everybody like banded together and made sure that they stayed relatively COVID free throughout a good majority of the pandemic. And then you get to America, where even from the early days of the pandemic, people were like, oh, I think we can get through this like without too much of an issue. Even then I was like, no, we're gonna have a lot of problems. Because there's no way, like, if we can't get everybody in America to agree on, like, pretty basic things, then we will not get everybody to agree on a certain, like, a set way to get rid of something. This is just going to have to go its course, or we're going to have to get a vaccine. That's the only way that thing was ending.
Well, I mean, to be honest, because I really don't want this conversation to come out as, America sucks, Canada's the best, because that's not the case.
Obviously,
you know, there are, just like any countries, there are issues in Canada, and just like the US, there are a bunch of people who don't even believe that COVID-19 is a thing that exists, and they think that the vaccine is going to kill you. And I personally know people who have told me arguments like, but why are you going to put the vaccine inside of you when you don't even know what's in it? Do you know what's in your fucking Coca-Cola? Yet you still drink it.
I have like, I obviously I believe COVID's a thing. I've experienced.
I hope so.
I've experienced what it is firsthand. Like I've never.
Oh really?
I've okay. Right. I guess it would be secondhand. I've experienced the effects that it has. I've known people. I've known people who've, you know, my mom had COVID, and I've had people close to me die from COVID. So I know. Oh, I know what it is. It's well, it's not okay, but you know, it's all right. It was a long time ago now, but it's still like, you know, whatever I hear people say like, oh, you know, COVID's fake. It's like, it's obviously not at this point. I really do think the only room for argument that people can have about discourse over COVID is, I think the vaccine issue is very multi-layered, because it's like, obviously we should to a certain extent trust like vaccines, but it's also an idea of like, are you willing to just kind of, you know, run the gauntlet and like go for this vaccine, which was fairly new by the time that like I got it. Like I got like, okay, I guess it'll be like pretty much full disclosure at this point. I don't know if it's okay to say what kind of vaccine I got. Is that like a thing that people are taboo about?
No.
Okay.
No, so, I think it's okay. I don't see why it wouldn't be okay.
I don't either. I got the Johnson one. I got the one shot. All right. That was not my choice, but it was what was provided to me through my college. And I got it that night. I felt, you know, kind of sore. I had a fever up until I went to sleep. But that was really the only issues I had with it. But about 3 days after I got my shot, I get an email from my college that says, hey, we're discontinuing, or we're like, we're what's the word? We're recalling the shot. We're recalling Johnson's vaccine because people are or because some people are experiencing blood clots from getting the vaccines.
Yeah. All right.
Now, to kind of like get into that, or to kind of like explain what really happened with that, it was a very, very small minority. It was like 6 people out of like millions that got that vaccine. I'm fine. A lot of other people I know who got that vaccine are fine. But I think it definitely does say something to like the idea of like, okay, we don't really know what we're putting in our body, but also we know it's probably not dangerous. Obviously, we don't know everything that's going to happen in the future, but I think it's the best bet we got right now.
Yeah.
And I never felt uncomfortable, I guess, going to get the vaccine. I never had that moment of like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea or not, because I was like, I'm willing to do whatever it is that I guess doctors think we should do, because I generally I trust doctors, but like,
yeah, I mean, doctors went to school for 10 years. I believe them. If you're willing to go to school for that long, I'm gonna fucking believe you.
I think it's a very, obviously it's not all black and white. It's extremely gray.
Yes.
But I just think it's equally as stupid to blindly accept everything as it is to blindly deny everything. Like some people do.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I feel like I may have a tendency to blindly like believe everything, maybe. But you know,
I can't.
My view on that is just that, like, I'm so fucking tired of this shit. I just want it to end.
No, I can't.
So
I can't stand over here and talk like I'm very different than that. No, I'm extremely the kind of person that's like, when it comes to COVID and everything, I'm obviously willing to do whatever it is that I need to do to like make sure that everybody around me is safe or stuff like that. But at the same time, my God, it gets hard. Like it's just like it's been almost a year and a half since this all started, and it doesn't, from all this recent COVID Delta stuff. Who knows if we're just starting again, or if it's gonna be nothing.
I don't know.
Some colleges. This is absolutely true. Some colleges in my state are thinking of doing online classes again, when just months ago we were told that it was like, yeah, you guys can come back in. Now, obviously my college hasn't said anything yet. They brought back masks, but that's really all we got.
I don't have any idea about my college. I haven't gotten anything. So fingers crossed that it's gonna be okay. But yeah,
I guess what I think right now is I just hope we don't get locked up again, because
same.
I don't want to disclose too much about it because it's obviously a really, really personal thing. But
absolutely,
quarantine left me in a not so good state of mind that I have still been in for many months after it started. But I just think I think we're at a point personally where we can go about our days, still go to places like movie theaters, or have go to like a store or something, even if we gotta wear masks. I think we're at a point where that's possible without all of us having to quarantine.
Yeah.
Unless it gets worse.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm fine with wearing masks.
So am I. Yeah, I've never been anti-masks. But yeah, I was. It's been really funny because of just how touch and go everything's been. I've had family members that have been like, just kind of like, I don't know what to do about these masks, or like, I don't think we should be wearing these masks anymore. And I was in Florida I was in Florida in early July, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But around that time, masks were still like kind of a big, like not like a big deal in Ohio. Like for most of the month of July, we were kind of fine. But leading up to me leaving, it was definitely like, keeping your mask on you was a pretty normal thing. In Florida, as soon as I got out of the airport, I didn't wear a mask from when I entered Florida to when I left. And that's absolutely true.
Really?
Yeah, I was there for 2 weeks. Not a single place required a mask. Not even the movie theater required a mask.
Movie theaters. I know if that's exactly what you mean, but in movie theaters here, like you can take off your mask when you're sitting on your seat and watching the movie, but when you're entering and exiting the theater, you have to wear it.
Yeah, I've seen 4 films in the theater since theaters reopened. I've seen Quiet Place Part 2. I've seen Fast and Furious 9. I've seen what was that? Jungle Cruise, and I saw Green Knight. So during when I saw Quiet Place Part 2, my local theater was still we had to wear masks throughout the entire experience, which obviously I don't wear them while we're doing the podcast because the glare would be insane, but I normally wear glasses. But I can't do that when I really have my mask on. So I really have to like mess with like how I'm wearing my mask when I have my glasses.
Yeah.
Like, I don't pull it down or anything, but I have to like kind of like push up my glasses a bit, and it's really weird. But when I was in Florida and I saw Fast and Furious 9, it was literally like days, like maybe like 5 or 6 days after I saw Quiet Place Part 2, masks were like, no, you're good. And I was like, huh. And then literally, because I saw Jungle Cruise and Green Knight this past week, my theater was like, yeah, no masks, you're good. But I know for a fact that like even the deli across the street from me is requiring masks right now. So if they are, then I think we're due for masks to come back. I think that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah. Well, what was I going to say? I was thinking for the glasses thing. Like I don't wear glasses, but for I work at a grocery store, and I started working there at the beginning of June. And I think like at the beginning of July, about mid-July, we got the news that we don't have to wear because we had to wear protective glasses because you can still get COVID from the ice.
Really?
And that
is. And even interestingly enough, that has not even been addressed in America. No one has said a damn thing about that.
Even in college, when we had classes where we had to handle equipment, we had to wear glasses.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I remember when they said you don't have to wear glasses anymore, I was so happy because it was so annoying to wear a mask with glasses. I couldn't see a thing.
No, imagine what it's like to have like prescriptions that you have to wear, but like see that's okay. I say that like my vision's too bad. It's really not. Like I don't wear glasses. I don't wear glasses when I'm at my computer anyway. Right. But because I'm not I don't think I'm nearsighted. I think the term I always mess the two up. But like whatever the term is for, I can't see anything past a certain distance. That's what it is. Like when it comes to stuff like in my immediate surroundings, I'm fine. Like I can read the stuff on a computer screen or a book completely fine. But when it comes to like watching TV from across the room, nothing. I thought the funniest part about that is a little anecdote about me discovering that I needed glasses. I didn't wear glasses until I was like 16.
Oh wow!
Because obviously like my vision wasn't bad enough to the point where I noticed it. But like I thought that was just how everybody saw the world. And then one day I was in class, and this is absolutely true. I jokingly put on a pair of one of my friend's glasses, and
Oh
everything
my God.
cleared up, and I almost had like a panic attack. I was like, because like the words on the board finally like were visible, and like I was like, this is scary.
Dude. Oh my God, that's crazy.
No, it's so terrifying.
Oh man.
It's such a I can't even imagine what it's like for someone like even my roommate. He was born or like his eyes have been not great since he was born, I think. I don't know. But you know, he just doesn't have very good eyesight without his glasses. I can't imagine what that was like to see that for the first time.
Right.
Like cuz like obviously mine isn't that bad, but it was still like a moment that was like near life changing of like, oh, I don't know what to think about that. But like I can't imagine what it's like to have your entire vision just be like instantly perfect from like a moment of like, whoa. I think that's so interesting.
Yeah. That's funny because like in my family that's a pretty I think that's pretty funny how in my family, you know, I have a family of 6 people, my parents, me, and my 3 brothers. And so I'm the only one in the 6 of us that doesn't wear glasses.
Really?
And like I've got perfect eyes. Like I don't, it's not even the case of like I could have glasses but it's not really worth it. Glasses are not going to do shit for me, you know.
Your eyes are just fine.
And,
yeah.
But everyone else in my family has glasses. You know, obviously my parents have like reading glasses because that comes with age.
Of course.
And my brothers, you know, I've got 2 brothers who are like, you know, they don't really wear their glasses too often. But then I got my older brother who like is basically blind. Not that far, but you know, he's planning on getting like the surgery.
Yeah, it's it's really funny to think about it like this, but like my dad, because like out of the people who still like, I guess, who are biologically like in my family other than like my mom's side, like speaking strictly on my dad's side, which is just like 4 people.
All right.
My dad is the only one of us that doesn't need glasses. And it's really funny to me because I'm like, really? I'm like, I was like, you were the one?
Who knows? Maybe in the future my kids will be saying that about me.
It's possible.
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
that's really funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we've come to the end of this big discussion about that only started with AIs, but that ended up being about so many different topics.
This is like definitely the most off topic we've gone on the podcast. We didn't even talk about entertainment.
No, yeah, like usually we always have like a big tangent on, I don't know, anime and Satoshi Kon and that kind of stuff. We didn't even talk about other movies. The only films we really talked about are Ex Machina and Her.
Yeah, we talked about Ex Machina, Her, and then real world issues like like COVID and the economy. Please,
that is not.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Okay, people who are watching this and have watched to this point, I obviously can't speak for both of us, but I talk from the point of view of me. I am a film student in Ohio who grew up decently well off. I wasn't wealthy or anything, but I never had to really worry about food. That's the point of view I'm coming from. Obviously, I might be a little uninformed about certain things, but everything I talk about is from that perspective and my own experiences. So I don't want to come off like an uninformed idiot. I hope I haven't. I don't think I have. But like that's just a disclaimer, I guess, to say.
Keep in mind that most of my information that I talked about comes from Twitter. So
yeah,
probably not the best place to get information. But
right, yeah, Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, we're just dudes. We're movie dudes.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
all.
where do you think the name came from?
Yeah. It's because that's what we are. We don't gotta.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't
We're
too much.
so far. We're so far from being the best person to talk about these kinds of issues.
Oh, of course not. No. Oh, but yeah, just wanted to throw that out there after that very long discussion about those topics.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you think it's time to do the honors for next week?
Let me pull up the randomizer.
Oh boy, I'm so excited. All right.
All right. So hold on a sec. Copying and pasting the films. Randomize. All right. Okay. This next week's film is gonna be about a film that I really like. It's a film that is called Memories of Murder.
Oh yes.
Have you seen Memories of Murder?
I do not, but I have it. It's one of the films I bought.
You have the Criterion?
Yes, it's one of the films that I bought in the last couple months. I didn't buy it during the sale, but I bought it early June. It's part of my pile of Criterion movies that I have that I'm working through, like slowly but surely. I was actually planning on watching Memories of Murder very soon. So
all right, well,
I am glad we're here.
And well, for me, it's also a film that I got in the last month's Barnes and Noble sale.
Oh yeah,
and,
that's right.
It's a film it's a film that I saw last summer, and because last year I was just so into Bong Joon-ho's movies, and so that's a film that I really liked, and I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about this. Like, I mean, if you wanted to, we could talk about what we got during the sale, because I don't think we talked about this, and
might as well. Yeah.
This was a Criterion-born podcast.
Yes, true.
We would not be where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know, we met through a post that I made on the Criterion subreddit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, so do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess I could go through my pickups. I'm gonna be kind of just glancing over at my shelf. Actually, no. I'll just go to the pictures that I took of it.
Yeah.
Because so I don't forget any.
Same.
But in this last sale, I picked up. I guess I'll go in order from when I think I picked them up. I bought. So this is really funny. Most of the films that I bought, I picked up while I was still in Florida, and I put them in my suitcase and brought them back to Ohio. So
nice.
So I bought them, most of them at the Barnes and Noble near Tampa. So, I started the sale off with the Blue, White, and Red trilogy. I guess the other word for it is three colors. And I apologize. His name is Polish, so I'm probably going to mispronounce it. By Krzysztof Kieslowski.
I think I pronounced it like Kieslowski, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't speak Polish.
Neither do I. But I also picked up Spike Lee's "Do the Right Thing." Oh yeah, I should probably indicate whether he's a blind bias or not. I have never seen Three Colors trilogy before I bought it. I saw "Do the Right Thing" before picking it up, and during that first trip, I also picked up "Blue is the Warmest Color" by. This is another word I'm probably gonna mess up because I believe it's French. Abdelatif Kish.
I think that's an Arabic name.
Oh yes, I think so. But the film is in French. I was confused.
Yeah,
I've not seen it yet, but I picked it up because it was $12 and it was Blu-ray. I do not know why this one was so cheap compared to the other Blu-rays.
I think maybe it's because it got some kind of backlash when it came out, because it's got some very explicit sex scenes.
I read up on
sex scenes.
Yes, I read up on the controversy after I bought the film.
Right.
But I believe the other reason it's probably cheap is because it is kind of a bare bones release. there really is only like when in terms of supplements that Criterion usually has.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing you get is a commentary track and a TV spot and trailers, and that's it. So
that kind of sucks.
it is a really bare bones.
I guess
it's a bare bones release.
$12.
It's but for what it was, I was like, whatever. It's a blind buy. I've never seen it yet. And I also picked up Solaris by Andrei Tarkovsky during that first visit, and I watched it the night afterwards. Oh my God, Solaris is incredible. Like it's
I've never seen it. I've never seen a Tarkovsky film, but I'm really gonna have to do that at some point.
No, I put Solaris on my watch list for this podcast. But
I mean, Stalker has been on my watch list for a long time, so maybe at some point I'm gonna watch it, or Solaris or something.
Oh yeah, no, Solaris is beautiful film. It's really long, but I think it works through that length. With like I don't think it needs to be that length, but it's comfortable at that length. I think it's like 2 hours 40 minutes, something like that. It's pretty long, but
it's not too long.
No. So through having that, I decided I'm like, okay, I kind of want to pick up another Tarkovsky movie. So I came back to that Barnes and Noble a couple days after watching Solaris, and I bought Stalker. And I also bought what else did I pick up during that trip? I think that was the trip that I picked up Parasite, because I had already owned Parasite on regular Blu-ray, but I mean it's the sale, so I decided to just bite the bullet and buy the Criterion version as well. But I also bought have you heard of the Eclipse series from Criterion that they do?
Yeah, actually, literally yesterday I was like, I should try to get more into that. So I just went through all of them and saw which one interested me.
Yeah, so I picked up the first films of Akira Kurosawa Eclipse set, which features his first 4 films: Sanshiro Sugata Part 2, The Most Beautiful, and The Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail. So that was my second trip, and then I went on one final trip, and I picked up I think I got the order wrong, but I picked up Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters. But this was, I also had releases that I was like, okay, I want to buy these, but they're not at the Barnes and Noble, so I'm gonna order on Amazon. They'll be there when I get home. So I bought the Blu-ray of Punch Drunk Love from Paul Thomas Anderson. Love that movie. I forgot to also mention that I have not seen Mishima yet. But I also bought on Amazon the DVD print, because there's not a Blu-ray version of it, of Yukio Mishima's Patriotism. So I have a very nice double feature waiting for me for whenever I watch Mishima.
Yeah.
And the final thing I picked up during the sale was an impulse buy before I moved into my apartment, and it's Bruce Lee, His Greatest Hits.
Oh, that's I'm really curious about that set. It seems like it's such a good set.
I've watched one film from it so far, which is The Big Boss, and I liked it a lot, and I'm really excited to get into the rest of it.
Yeah, well,
that's my massive sale haul.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is I like martial arts films, and I really like Jackie Chan's movies. I've never seen a Bruce Lee movie for some reason, so I'm gonna have to do that.
I only recently got into martial arts films with Jackie Chan's Police Story 1 and 2. Again, thanks to Criterion.
Yes.
But yeah, that was my complete sale haul. So what did you get, Phil?
So for me, everything I got was in one bunch, because I had to order them all from Amazon, because unfortunately Canada does not have Barnes and Noble, so I could not have the pleasure of going into the store and go through everything that was on the shelves. I mean,
so once you realize that Amazon price matches, the world's your oyster. Yeah. You don't really got to worry about going to Barnes & Noble. The experience is still fun, because
I just wish I didn't have to pay for shipping.
Yeah,
That's really it.
Yeah, that's
because
really
not only
it,
that,
yeah.
but it's shipping through like another country. So
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't take that into account. But anyway, yeah. What'd you pick up?
all right. So I got one blind buy, which is not even exactly sure why I wanted to get this film, but it was like really high on my list of films that I wanted to get. It's The Fisher King by Terry Gilliams,
Okay.
with Robin Williams and
Ooh.
Jeff Bridges.
Ooh, I
And
like
it's
that.
yeah, I heard that it's basically. I haven't seen the film, so I don't really know how correct that is. But I heard that it's kind of a film about Robin Williams, who plays a homeless man who's in New York because he believes that it's in New York that he's gonna find the Holy Grail. Which I that's something that I noticed after buying the film. How like it's interesting how Terry Gilliams directed two films about the Holy Grail.
What was his
And
other?
they're both
What was his other one?
the Monty Python. The
Oh,
Holy
that's
Grail.
right. That's right. Forgive
Yeah.
me.
Which is another film we could talk about on the
for
podcast.
sure. No, we should do. Honestly, I might add that to my watch list tonight of like I guess like the popular Monty Python trilogy of like Holy Grail, Life of Brian, and Meaning of Life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would love to talk about those because
Yeah.
all three of them are very good.
I haven't seen Meaning of Life, but I'm planning to do that.
I still haven't seen. I still haven't seen Life of Brian, but I have seen.
That's pretty good. I like it.
I have seen Holy Grail and Meaning of Life. But yeah, so continue.
Yeah. So, Fisher King, to kind of finish that, I think it seems like a pretty interesting film, and I'm excited to see it. Next film I got is House, which we already have said a lot of stuff about it, so I'm not going to go too much in detail. For those watching, if you you haven't seen it, we made an episode specifically on House, so you can check that out.
Absolutely.
And then the next film is Memories of Murder. So again, if you want a bigger discussion on it, you can wait for next week's episode.
I'm so excited. I just had to say that again. I'm so excited for that.
Oh, same. It's such a good film. Next, just like you, I also got Mishima Life in 4th Chapter, and that was that was just a film that I randomly watched on the Criterion channel like 2 weeks before I ended up buying the Blu-rays, and I just thought it was a really good film. I thought it's interesting how Mishima is like a very traditional Japanese author with very sort of conservative opinions, and it's an author that I discovered through a PewDiePie video.
Did you?
Yeah, because he made a few years ago. He made a video about how for an entire year he read a bunch of books, and he discovered his favorite author, which was Yukio Mishima.
Ooh, okay.
So
I think I've watched that video, but I didn't make that
yeah.
I didn't make that comparison. That's awesome.
No, I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Next, I got Police Story 1 and 2. They're amazing films.
I think
really good.
That might be my favorite blind buy I've done so far. Like out of the movies that I've watched from the blind buys that I've had, that is definitely my favorite because those movies are just so fun.
It's such a fun film to watch because that one's my brother is a big fan of martial art films, and especially Jackie Chan. Yeah. And so he basically harassed me for years to watch this film. And at the end of the last year, I ended up saying like, yeah, sure, let's watch it. And so we ended up watching it. I was like, yeah, all right, you're right. This is fucking awesome. And so that's for that. And next is The Princess Bride, which is it's not the kind of film that you'd really expect to see on the Criterion Collection.
It isn't. It's one of those films where you're like, oh really? Okay.
Yeah, and I mean it's such a good set because I don't know if you've ever seen what it's like. but it's the way the cover is made. It is the same kind of material that's on old books.
Oh, no way.
And
really?
The booklet that you have in any Criterion is attached to the thing as if it was a book.
That's ridiculous. I love it.
That's so cool.
I've seen it obviously in pictures, but I've never seen it in person. So that's incredible.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I knew it was like making it like a book, but I thought it was just going to be regular plastic, and then I touched it and was like, dude, that's insane.
That's incredible. I love that.
Next film I got 2 Wes Anderson films, because I'm planning on getting every one of his films on Criterion, so I'm gonna do that.
Hell yeah.
1 or 2 at a time. So I got my 2 favorite films from him that I didn't have yet, which are The Royal Tenenbaums and Rushmore. And it's kind of funny to talk.
Did you already have Grand Budapest?
Yeah,
that's why
I got it. I got it at the beginning of the year in the February sale.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But so it's kind of funny to talk about Royal Tenenbaums now, because in the episode 0, when we were talking about our favorite films, you put Royal Tenenbaums at in your list, but I had not seen it yet. So and I ended up watching it. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I can now say it's a great film.
It is. It's my personal favorite Wes Anderson. I still think Grand Budapest is like the best film he's made.
Right.
But Royal Tenenbaums is my personal favorite. I don't even have it. This is really funny. I don't even have it on Criterion Blu-ray. I have the DVD.
Oh, really?
I have the Criterion DVD, which was technically, I guess you could say that was the first Criterion film that I ever had, because it was given to me by a friend of my dad's. After we watched it at his house, he's like, I forgot that I had an extra copy. Here you go. So I was like, cool. But oh my god, I forgot to bring this up. Oh, Phil, I got something this last week.
Oh, okay. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want me to finish about?
Yeah, you go. You finish yours.
Okay, all right. I'm really curious about where you're gonna show, but so next I got Rushmore from Wes Anderson, which is I know it's like one of your least favorite from him.
It's either that or Moonrise Kingdom, but being the worst Wes Anderson movie is not a bad thing to be.
I'd rather be the worst Wes Anderson film than like the best Michael Bay film.
Yeah.
But Rushmore is, in general, I feel like a lot of people had the same opinion about how it's one of his least good film. I'm gonna say that instead of worst. Yeah. But I don't know. I think for me, the thing, in a weird kind of way, I identify a lot with the main character of Rushmore.
Yeah.
Not in the way of I want to bang my teacher, but it's more in a way of like how he really has, especially how he's kind of like he directs these really ambitious plays for his school. And it's a way of kind of like he is a very creative person, and he has to show that creativity to the world, which I think I also kind of have.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of identify through that. And, you know, I feel like it's a very good film.
It is a good film. I like it a lot.
And the last film.
Yes.
Yeah. Last film is, I think, one of the most underrated film, in my opinion, in general, not even Criterion, but just in general. It's a film that is called Tampopo, which I don't know if I've talked to you about.
You might have mentioned it, but I've never seen it, nor have I heard of it.
All right, so well, it's in the in my list, so we're probably gonna make an episode about it at some point.
Yeah,
it's to kind of make the story quick, not to spend too much time about it. It's a film about this woman who owns a ramen shop, and the thing is that she makes pretty bad ramen, and then at some point she meets a guy who's like a truck driver, and so since he's always on the road, he eats a lot of ramen since it's pretty quick to eat, and so he knows what a good ramen is, and so he basically tries to teach her what how to make good ramen, and that sounds kind of like
that sounds so charming. I'm really excited to watch that.
But the thing is that I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I feel like that's a good thing to not know that much about it. So I'm gonna keep the surprise, I'd say. But this film is the biggest love letter to food I've ever seen, and there's a lot of weird scenes, but once you'll have seen the film, you're gonna understand. Yeah. There's a lot of weird scene related to food that I think are very nice, and the way that the film is made, there's so much stuff that I love. It's one of my favorite Japanese films of all time. And I think it's super underrated, and I think that more people should see it.
Well, I'm super excited to check it out whenever we get to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is it that you wanted to talk about?
Okay, so I'm gonna go get it for the visual part of this podcast, but I'll start the story when I return to the chair.
All right, sure.
All right. So this past week, I was in my hometown, or not my hometown, but I was in the town where my mom lives, and I decided on a whim one afternoon, I was like, before work, I'm gonna go to the local record shop and see what's going on. Now, sometimes they've been known to have like just kind of weird DVDs kind of laying around. That's where I got my copy of The Human Condition on Criterion. Was the old DVD, I guess, manufacturing of it.
Oh, that's nice.
So I went over to where they usually keep their Criterions, because they have a little dedicated section. It's not too big, but they have some Criterions on the shelf. And in the DVDs, I saw something. I saw a copy of Michael Bay's Armageddon on Criterion.
No fucking way.
For $5, and I bought it. So,
yeah, of course you bought it.
So now I'm a proud owner of the 40th spine from Criterion, Armageddon.
Oh my god. When I first heard that there were like 2 Michael Bay films on Criterion, I could not believe it.
Well, see, okay, I can't say I understand the inclusion of The Rock, but The Rock is at least a decent movie. Like, it's not too bad.
Right.
But Armageddon? Even my dad, when I was talking to him about what Criterion was, and I told him later that day that Armageddon was on it, he was like, why the hell did they put that one on there? So, oh my god, dude, I was immediately like, I can't leave here without that.
No, you can't. If you had been on the podcast and you told me, oh yeah, I saw Armageddon, but I didn't get it, this would have been our last episode, all right? Oh, that's fucking funny.
I know.
I wish I had it.
So, I haven't watched it yet. So, I eventually, I mean, out of all the Criterion I own and haven't watched, this will be the last one. Like, once I literally have none of them that I haven't seen, Armageddon will be the last one. So I guess I'll report back once I finally watched Armageddon. But yeah, that was my amazing record store find this week.
Dude, all right. Let's just say that is not what I was expecting.
Were you expecting anything in particular?
I thought I had 2 theories. One was that you were gonna pull up the the giant Ingmar Bergman set.
Jesus Christ, that would have been insane. No, I probably would have mentioned that much sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I thought you were gonna say like that you managed to find a copy of the Harold and Maude Criterion, because that one's been like out of print.
I would have texted you about that. I wouldn't have even saved it for the podcast. I would have sent you a picture of that shit. Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really fucking funny.
I know. That's like, okay, I'm trying to think of the other, because I know there's like one other terrible or like really questionable Criterion release that I want.
Well, there's the Benjamin Button.
I have that. I have that one. Yeah, I got that
one's
one
like
many months ago.
Because that one's it's the one that like one really doesn't have a lot of bonuses, but two is like it's the only Criterion that's in the classic Blu-ray box, which is really I hate.
It's really interesting. If you look at like because the record store I was at, because I bought the Benjamin Button Blu-ray at the same record store. But they had DVD copies of it as well, which had the normal Criterion DVD case. But I was like, why did they change it for this? I was like, why is it normal on this one?
That's weird.
It's definitely like a kind of like the organized part of me hates the fact that I have that on my shelf, but the other part of me thinks like the other part of me think that's hilarious.
I mean, I've heard people that, because I think like on their you can buy like blank boxes like the same ones that Criterion use. So I've heard people that bought the Benjamin Button and then bought the blank box and then just put it put the Benjamin Button Blu-ray in it just to make it more clean, I guess.
That's what I did with my Wong Kar-wai box set. I bought blank DVD cases and I put them in because I hated the fact that they were in plastic, like not even plastic sleeves, like just kind of like paper sleeves in the box set. I was like, doesn't sit well with me. I'm like I want these to be in good condition, especially because when the Wong Kar-wai box set came out, everybody was kind of like freaking out about there being like a possible encoding problem because some people weren't able to watch like some of the movies. Like some people had trouble watching Chungking Express, and like because for some people it would freeze like around the halfway mark. Eventually like recently this was revealed to be like if you watch them on like Xbox systems it's a problem. Right. But if you watch them on any normal Blu-ray player or like PS5, which is what I watched them on, you'll be fine.
Dude, you got a PS5?
I do have a PS5. This is an entire like other story to get into, but
you're one of like you're one of 14.
Yeah, the long and the short of it was ever since November, since it came out, it took me until February of constantly like refreshing GameStop pages whenever I would get a hit on my Twitter, which is I would follow accounts and turn on notifications of like when PS5 drop days or like times. Literally, it took me 4 months of doing exactly that every day. Jesus and then Christ. One day it just worked.
Wow.
Yeah. The thing was like me and my dad were both doing it because he was helping me with it. And we both went for the same one at the same time, and I was like, no luck. But my dad texted me and he goes, I got it. I was like, what? So yeah, I'm very lucky to be one of the few people that own a PS5 right now.
My God.
Which sucks because it's a really good system. Like, let me get that out there. It's really good.
Obviously, like I don't want to get too much into like that because that's an entirely other tangent. But I just hate how like there's almost a year ago an entire new generation of consoles started and we can barely notice it because no one can get one.
And there's not even
been almost a year.
And there's not even that many games out for that exact reason. Yeah. Like literally the only two PS5 releases that are coming out in like the immediate year or so is coming out next month, and that's Deathloop and Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Which is like the two that I've been following. But like, yeah, it's not apparent yet, and I really do hate the way that they went through the release, but I also can kind of understand that it probably wasn't their choice to do it like this. It was probably more than likely a COVID-driven shortage of supplies.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's still kind of messed up the way that it's all been going. But
absolutely, yeah.
I'm one of those absolute lucky people to have one. But yeah, that's that, I guess. And I think that's a good place as any to end the podcast. You think?
Yep, I agree.
Yep. So this was fun. Catch us next week for our discussion of Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho.
Yep.
Thank you all for watching. I'm Alec.
I'm Phil.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.